The income's so front-loaded in that industry, and it used to be even more.
Even more, right.
The bonuses, now they have them paid in equity over time and
exactly,
banks. When I was there, it was like, here's your $1 million, here's your $2 million, here's your money. Same with you, and now it's like,
it's some vesting over time, yeah.
Unheard of in history, people in their 20s make this kind of money.
Right.
Then you got those insecurities come out, and then the drugs are right there.
Right there, so they can afford them. But most importantly, I really believe, is that you thought that once you arrived in the spot, you'd feel good. And when you don't, that's when you're like, what do I do? Like, how do I make sense of my life now? And then drugs help you make sense of that for a short time. And I think that's a really big part of it. And that's why people tend to try to, like, what's the next thrill? What do I buy? You're always trying to see, if I do this, I'll feel good. If I do this. So finally, for me, this great journey I had in my life was, making all this money, a rise and a fall. And then finally, after the fall, meeting the right woman. I'm very fortunate. I have finally, just a perfect woman for me, my partner, my real soulmate. And you come to this spot in your life where I just realize that I'm okay. I'm good. And then once you're there, the money becomes amazing. The compulsions are lifted to spend it recklessly. Like now, I swear to God, it wasn't a car I didn't want to buy. I got every car, blah, blah, this, 18 watches. I don't really care anymore. I love nice things. Still love to fly private. Why not? But the point is, it's not like I feel like that I'm trying to fill something by doing that. I use money in the right way now, and that took a long time. And I wish I could. If you can go back in time and whisper something in young Jordan's ear, that would be it. You're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay, and no one cares. Everyone's got their own shit going on. No one's looking at you, and it's all in your own head. If at the end of the life you have a partner, a wife or a husband or a significant other that you really connect with and understands you and you can trust, a couple of good friends, you're doing really well in this world.
Yeah. So the story of your life is kind of the story of your relationship with money to a certain extent. We both grew up in America as teenagers, and it was just I was selling candy on the buses, you're selling ice cream, you're selling this. We were, I don't know about you, but for me, that was what America was all about. If you make money, you win.
Were you from a wealthy family or no?
No, kind of upper middle class.
Yeah, so I was middle class, middle lower, but not lower class, middle. So we had enough money to know how little we had. In other words, and also we were in proximity to wealth, Long Island. So it was always about one day when we get rich as kids, we'll move out to Long Island, get a big house, and really we'll arrive. And then, maybe a half a mile was the big houses in the area, right? Called the Bayside Gables, where the rich people live, right? So that was, yes, a very, very similar upbringing in that sense. So yes, I always sort of felt like that was my path forward. It's very money-centric, success-oriented way of thinking. And from the time, I think, I always had a business. Paper out at 8, shoveling driveways after snowstorms at 10, children's magic shows at 12, and then the beach selling ice. I really made big money. That really defined who I was. By the time I started selling ices and I made that first big hit, a couple $100 a day back in the 70s, was a lot, right?
$20,000?
Yeah, it was massive. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Did your self-esteem tick up a few notches?
Absolutely.
Right.
And not just my self-esteem, my beliefs about myself and taking action, my beliefs about self-reliance and resilience. So it really started really forming the adult version of who I was, that to this day I would never consider how can I not be successful, because I'm not going to stop until I am. That sort of belief, and the harder I work, the more money I make, versus how I was at 10. I said, go work in this catering hall and sit there, wait to get, but I'll die. I'll kill myself. I'll be the worst busboy in the world because I'll be asleep trying. I'm not picking up that plate because it's not like a sort of profit versus energy out. You get it? So I realized who I was. I found myself pretty young, and because of those root beliefs I had about myself taking action, it paved the way for all decisions going forward.
Right, and that's what built Stratton Oakmont. That kind of was started on the beaches there to a certain
extent.
Started
on the beach. What happened with Stratton Oakmont, and it was really about this. I was a natural born salesperson at this incredibly high level. Whatever reason, we all have gifts. That was a gift I had at a really high level, right? And when I was trying to get my young guys, who were basically nincompoops, right, to close rich people, they couldn't. And this, I originally was selling penny stocks to moms and pops, right? And I had a system of training salespeople that was really good. It was my own. It didn't have a name. And these 12 kids, I give meetings every day, and they were doing really well. Then when I came up with the idea to go to rich people, and I tested it myself and Danny, the Donnie character from the movie, right?
Yeah.
The results were so profound, so massive, I decided to reinvent the firm. said, wow, this is going to be simple. All I got to do is train these 12 kids to close rich people, and you'll really appreciate the story because you come from the larger Wall Street firm, right? I said, I'll be the richest person in the world, right? See, back in the day, in the 80s, when we were going through things, it was the rich people, the kids that went to the good schools would go to the big Wall Street firms.
Yeah.
And the kids that weren't really educated, they go to the penny stock firms.
It was very elitist.
It was totally, right? And then my cracking the code was about that, wait a second, and why aren't the regular kids allowed to call rich people? They're too stupid. Rich people are not going to speak to a kid who dropped out of high school. And that turned out to be very, very true. When I tried to do it, I was able to do it. My partner, Danny, was a very smart guy, national born closer. I trained him, right? The 12 kids couldn't do it. When I invented the straight line system, it was this new way of selling, and it allowed this basically a 12-year-old, 8-year-old nincompoop who just stopped shaving to call someone worth $100 million and sound like a professional and close the person. That's what paved the way for Stratton. Once that started, it allowed me to take all these kids who had been basically boxed out of Wall Street to come work for me and call big investors, because the system of influence allowed it to work. Without the system, I tried it first, it didn't work. When I cracked the code for that, it was on one night, that's what changed everything. And the mistake I made was that it allowed me to sell so much stock so fast, I didn't have enough good product to sell. I ran out of good product. So what happens is, you're a trader, right? So what also happens, I keep buying one stock, it goes up. I started pumping up the value. I wasn't even making money because I wasn't long anymore. I had no inventory, so the stock's going up. It's not even helping me. And I'm like, shit, what do I do? You get it? My stocks are going up. I'm not even making money because of it. It was an unintended consequence to cracking the code for sales and influence and taking all these kids who could just buy massive quantities of any stock. I should have slowed down the growth. That was my mistake.
Right? Why have 1,000 guys?
Because, my beliefs were somewhat flawed back then.
More was better. You wanted power as well.
Yes, but also, yes, it was part of it. But I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I had this desire for instant gratification.